So the first step towards creating a meaningful moment of human connection within your culture is to acknowledge there's a lot of disconnected, lonely people, and maybe I'm one of them. So how do I overcome that for myself and then bring that type of connection towards others?
Hey friends, welcome to the Changing Work Podcast. We are so glad you're here.
My name is Nick.
And I'm Scott.
And this is the podcast where we talk about changing work from the inside out.
So if you're into making the workplace and the world a better experience via conscious business practices, stick around. This is for you.
Hey, pal. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, how are you?
You are on quite a roll today. I have a question for you.
Oh, you
Scott.
have a question for me? All right, tell me.
What has been one of your greatest takeaways? You've met so many amazing people through this summit today. What's been one tip that has really stuck out for you?
I love it. Thank you for that. Let's see. I learned something new from Dr. Robin Haley Defoe. She talks about stress and resilience. And one of my favorite hacks from her was, when you're in a meeting, always start with the most junior person and hear what they have to say first. I thought that was genius, right? And then in our discussion with David Seamus, just this intense curiosity when we're in conversation with someone, even if we really disagree with someone, if we can think about just holding on to that curiosity and letting go of our own noise. To me, these are that was worth the price of admission for those two things.
Wow. Curiosity, listen to the quiet ones, listen to the young voices, empower anybody on the team to own culture and bring forth some pretty innovative ideas.
Exactly.
Well, dang, I need to learn some of that myself.
Right? We all do. Chris, let me tell folks who you are in the world, and then let's get into it. So Chris is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author of Gratitude Through Hard Times and also Gratitude and Pasta. And I want to hear the story about gratitude and pasta. USA Today calls him their gratitude guru, and he's a founding member of Rolling Stone magazine's Culture Council and sits on the exec board at Fast Company magazine. And as a viral marketer, his gratitude campaign, giving tribute and thanks to veterans, earned over 36 million views and 2 Emmy Awards. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Welcome, Chris.
Scott, thank you for having me. Enrique Rubio and to the entire team at Hacking HR, thank you for putting on this summit. And to all of you watching, it's great to meet y'all. I know you've been through a back-to-back-to-back day of such amazing new learnings. And I thank you for tuning in. I hope you're coming out with not only some good tidbits, but I hope you're coming out with a good feeling, right? As Maya Angelou once said, people won't remember what you did or what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I hope that some of your learnings today really inspire you to lean in with a renewed commitment of service and heart to the work that you do, helping bring people together within the workplace at a time where they need human connection more than ever before. So thank you for showing up here today.
So good. All right, Chris, how did you get to be a gratitude guru? Tell me the story.
The story. Folks, you're gonna laugh at the seemingly simple side of this story a couple times, but I promise it brings us to where we are in the present. My story of gratitude started in July of 2015. If you looked at my life back then, you would have seen a guy who looked not too dissimilar from this. I had a good job. I had nice people said nice things about me. I had good colleagues and coworkers, and we were doing great work for the world. I was operating in the theater industry as a producer. And one day I got back home to New York City after producing a Broadway play over in Rome, Italy. And when I got back here to New York City, I realized I felt 4 things in the moment: lonely, unfulfilled, disconnected, unappreciated, burnt out, and insecure. And it took Italy producing the play over there to make me realize that about myself, that just because a life looked good on paper, like so many of yours watching this live stream, didn't mean it felt good in the heart. There was a disconnect. And in that moment, I knew I had to do something quick about my life situation, or I was liable to go down a deep, dark path. I have a long history of non-suicidal self-injury, multiple stints in rehab, a long bouts of depression, and I didn't want to go back. So I thought, what was it exactly about my time in Italy, Rome in particular, if any of you have ever visited, that changed my perspective on living? Scott, was how they walked, how they talked, how they made love, how they honored history? No, it's how they ate their food with their friends around the dinner table, amongst community to the wee hours of the morning. It's what woke me up, the power of human connection. And Scott, I said, I got to bring that magic, that feeling back here to New York City. And when I got back home, you're going to laugh when I say this, I invented a pasta sauce recipe. And I thought it was pretty good, but I figured I should feed it to people to see if it was really even good or not. And I decided to host a dinner party. And on July 15th, 2015, I invited 15 of my friends that didn't know each other over to my home for a simple dinner party.
We had people over. We worked together to create the meal. We had a shared group experience. I asked what would now become our signature gratitude question. Everybody brought forth some amazing stories. A few people cried. They loved the pasta sauce. I fell in love with the idea of connecting people. And we've been doing that every single day since, helping people connect in the most meaningful way, whether it's around the dinner table or at a large event or through a big culture campaign or whatever. And we've used the principles of gratitude, empathy, human connection, and belonging to spark over 500,000 relationships in the last 8 years. It all started around the dinner table, helping people connect in a meaningful way. And once amazing companies like all of yours watching started hearing what we were doing, we started working with them to help bring together their remote teams, help them reconnect with their customers and external partners, and just have a good time. But the pasta sauce wasn't too bad. The people approved of it.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Any secret ingredients that make the pasta sauce,
Scott, I could tell you that, but then I'd have to, I'd have to do the Men in Black memory eraser.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I'll just say this. It's made with love. It's made with gratitude, and got a few secret ingredients in there somewhere.
Okay, fine. Well, if you won't tell me the secret ingredients to the pasta sauce just yet, how about the secret ingredients to helping people connect? Right? I mean, on the one hand, it doesn't seem that complicated, but I'm sure there's some ingredients that make it go. So what are those ingredients to true connection?
Yeah, I think the secret sauce of human connection, as we say, is I think it requires people to come into the present and acknowledge each other's shared humanity and slow down, turn on a generous spirit for connection, and just lean into it with their heart. I think connecting meaningfully amongst people first requires the courageous step of acknowledging a lot of us feel lonely. How do I do something about that? Let me lean into human connection. Vivek H. Murthy, the great Surgeon General of the United States, put out a report a number of years ago that showed that 51% of the American workforce reports feeling lonely on a consistent basis. This is equivalent to the reduction of lifespan of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So the first step towards creating a meaningful moment of human connection within your culture is to acknowledge there's a lot of disconnected, lonely people, and maybe I'm one of them. So how do I overcome that for myself and then bring that type of connection towards others?
Okay, so it starts just by recognizing that this is a thing. and
Yeah.
either internalizing it for me or internalizing it for my team, that this is a problem.
Yeah.
Do you have some success stories to share, or companies or leaders who are getting this right? Like, who can we look to?
In terms of human connection, in terms
Yeah.
of creating a culture of belonging and connection and gratitude and all these kind of things,
Yes.
you know, I'm going to go back to 2008, and I'm going to go back to Gary Ridge.
Hmm.
For all of you who have ever owned a bicycle or had a squeaky door hinge, or I don't know, had anything that was covered in rust at any point in your life, you've likely used a simple product called WD-40. And it sounds laughingly simple to start off a story about human connection with WD-40, but hear me out. In 2008, as the world was entering obviously a massive global financial crisis and entering the Great Recession, Gary Ridge, the CEO of WD-40, he wanted to rise up to the occasion. He knew that his people that he leads, all they were going to see out in the marketplace and on TV and in the news was going to be fear and dread and disinterest and detachment and all these scary things. And Mr. Ridge said, I don't want to waste a good crisis. This is the opportunity to create a safe harbor where they could find hope and optimism for our future through this scary time. And Mr. Ridge made a commitment in that moment early in the financial crisis that he would be one of the only companies not to lay off a single person through this crisis. And he would do that by doubling down in learning, passion, engagement, recognition, human connection, and belonging. He made an initiative. He went to his senior leaders and said, I want you to go out into the tentacles of the organization, and I want you to recognize people for their contributions that they've made along the mission, vision, values of our organization. He wanted people to go out and say, hey, Carrie, I see that you're doing the own it mindset. I recognize you for that. Hey, Sebastian, I see that you're playing together like a tribe. I recognize you for that. And he went out and he made it an initiative, and his team really responded in a positive way. Throughout that 2008, 2009 period, they leaned into appreciating others, leading with gratitude, creating meaningful moments of human connection. And by 2010, 2 years into it, they reported the best financials in their company's 57-year history. If you zoom out 14 years since 2024, 2010, their revenue has quadrupled. Their stock has grown 300%. They outpaced the S&P 500 every year since. And at their recent employee engagement survey, 99% of their tribe members report loving working for WD-40.
Wow, 99%?
99% of tribe members report loving working for WD-40.
That's amazing.
I mean, he went on my buddy Chester Elton's podcast, and he talked about gratitude and recognition, meaningful moments of human connection being the glue that keeps the relationships within their culture alive. It's tribal, it's communal, it's connected. The proof is in the pudding. The results are in the amazing growth.
So you talk about recognition. I want to double click on this a bit. What makes really good recognition?
So we define recognition as the act of expressing gratitude and acknowledgement to the way that your employees' contributions align with the mission, vision, values of your organization.
So it reinforces the goodness that you're already trying to set out.
Yeah, we have a belief that in order to achieve excellence, in order to achieve efficiency and innovation, in order to drive long-term shareholder value, in order to build a culture of innovation and creativity, in order to get things done, you need to have a laser-like focus on the things that drive values and make those the priorities. And one of the things that you can do, that you can focus your entire vision around, is the mission, vision, values of the organization, connecting what you do to the ultimate why of the impact of your organization. And so recognition is double clicking on people's commitment to that culture on a frequent basis. It's double clicking and saying, Scott, I see what you're doing. I know you're stretched thin. I know when growth outpaces gratitude and we don't have enough resources to get you more bodies, more budget, more resources, you're stretched thin, you're burnt out, you're working 6 to 7 jobs at once. But I just want to let you know, Scott, I see you. You're doing it. A thank you. We're doing this together. And the more often that you can actually recognize your people in a really meaningful way, the more willing they're 81% of employees are more willing to work harder if their employer is more shows them more gratitude and appreciation. So people really want to lean in when they feel valued.
That's powerful. This is not rocket science, right? And I'm curious why we get stuck, right? I think sometimes as managers, we're pothole leaders, right? There can be 1,000 miles of perfect road, but if there's one pothole in 1,000 miles, we'll focus on that. And we think it's our job just to look at what's wrong. So how do we encourage people to also be spending time on the what's right?
So it sounds like some leaders wake up and dwell on what's wrong versus wake up and appreciate what's right and help it go more right. Double clicking on the positive. I get that. So I want to take a stab at kind of what's preventing us from doing that. And I want to reference the success of one of our, Scott mentioned that we sit on we're one of the founding members of Rolling Stone magazine's Culture Council. If you go to rollingstone.com and just type in Chris Shembra, you'll see dozens of amazing articles on the science and psychology and ancient Stoic philosophy of gratitude, empathy, connection, belonging. And one of our highest performing pieces, of which one guy, Larry Levine, reads every Monday, is the topic of why receiving gratitude is hard. And this is going to answer your question, Scott. A lot of us have a defense against intimacy of receiving gratitude. When's the last time someone in your life came up to you and said, hey, Joshua, I just wanted to give you gratitude for holding the door open for me last week. It really changed my perspective on living. No, don't worry about it. It was nothing. You're good. How many of you do that? Well, what you don't realize you're doing is you are convincing yourself you're not worthy of receiving that gratitude. You're blocking other people's attempts at generosity, and you're creating disconnection. You're creating deflection, non-inspired connection. And so if human beings' natural instinct is to block gratitude, it's also to devalue gratitude. I don't need to be open to receiving it. My life's good without it. So then why would we go out of our way to give it if we don't even see the benefits of receiving it? Most people walk around this earth underestimating the impact gratitude has on the recipient and overestimating how much the recipient thinks we're grateful for them. And that is a disconnect. We see it in cultures, we see it in families, we see it in friends, and it broods disconnection.
That makes sense. Okay, well, let's say that you're listening and you've gotten me this far. I know that, okay, gratitude is good, makes everybody feel better, makes them feel more connected, energized. A good way to do it is to align with mission, vision, values, and all the stuff we're trying to do as a leader. Let's say you've gotten me to this point. I'm ready to go do it. Now, now what? Like, what are some of the like the best practices to actually do it, to actually give gratitude or appreciation?
If you want a best practice for actually giving gratitude, first, I want you to feel gratitude right now in this moment watching this webinar. I told you the story earlier of how the dinner table saved my life.
Hmm.
I told you the story of how my friends came together to connect and cook and eat pasta sauce and have a good time. In that story, I also mentioned that we asked a simple gratitude question at that very first dinner, July 15th, 2015 at 7:47 p.m., which, folks, by the way, is now the name of my cult that I lead. It's literally tattooed on my body. We asked a simple question, and I want to ask you here right now in this call, just to give you a gift of presence and reflection in this moment. At that very first dinner table, we looked at our people and said, folks, if you could give credit or thanks to one person in your life that you don't give enough credit or thanks to, that you've never thought to thank, who would that be? And I want you to think about that for just 20 seconds. I'm going to set a timer, 20 seconds. If you're watching this, meditate.
Maybe even journal it, yeah?
Who are you thinking about right now in this moment? Who have you never thought to thank? Is this someone from way back in your past? Is this someone who's sitting right next to you at your home office today? Is this someone who had a positive impact on you? Is this someone who had a negative impact on you? Have you never thought to thank yourself? If you're watching this and you're courageous, type it into the group chat, wherever you're watching. You're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Zoom. Type it in the group chat. I'd love to see who you're grateful for. Thank you for that. That feeling that you feel right there, that's gratitude. Doesn't matter how you express it. Doesn't matter who you express it to. It doesn't matter when you do it. That feeling right there in your heart right now, that's gratitude. And my hope is that you take that feeling and you spread it like wildfire within your organization and within your community. Think of the person that you just gave gratitude to. Text them, call them. If they're no longer with us, write them a letter. What happens when we take that feeling and we spread it in a pro-social way towards others, that it creates a positive upward spiral. This creates an infectious moment within cultures, leads to greater hope, pride, optimism, innovation, creativity, resilience needed to get through further trying times because you've got the internal resilience and strength and connection. And if you just do that one thing, go give gratitude to one person today that you just felt, you've done enough. But I caution you, there's a right and a wrong way to give authentic gratitude. And I'll bring it back to the workplace. I'll tell you a story. I wanted to give gratitude to my friend Henry one time. Henry means the world to me. He's a dear friend. He's a hero to so many people. He's built a wonderful organization and he's been really involved in amazing philanthropic activities that mean the world to me. I wanted to thank him one day for being a good friend. So I hired this artist, and this artist asked me for details of Henry's life. And this artist engraved it on a mug. And he sent this mug, this big coffee mug, in a huge wooden box to Henry way across the country. I mean, this artist poured their whole life into this mug. And weeks went by. I would text and DM Henry on a almost daily basis, but no mention of the mug. And I called him up and I said, Henry, did you get the mug? I love the mug, Chris. What's up? Henry, curious. I got a question for you. How do you like to receive gratitude? What language do you like to receive gratitude or appreciation in? He said, quality time and acts of service. Let me guess, Chris, you love giving gifts. And in that moment, I realized I missed the complete boat. I sent a gift across the country to a friend of mine who just wanted me to hop on the plane and come volunteer at a local nonprofit with them and spend some good quality time. And it made me realize the simple sentence that not all gratitude given is gratitude heard. Gratitude given in the language that's most convenient for you, the leader, to give, can sometimes come across as selfish, convenient, inauthentic, and lazy. But gratitude given in a language your employees like to receive it, that's authentically heard. That's received well. And I keep talking about languages. What are we talking about? Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, and his sister book, The Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. See, it all comes down, and I know we're closing out in a sec, it all comes down to empathy. Empathy is the art of imaginatively stepping into the shoes of another person, understanding their feelings and perspectives, and using that knowledge to guide your action. Recognition rooted in empathy is the most authentic form. It's got to be personalized. It's got to be in the language of the recipient. It's not a one-size-fits-all blanket across your culture. So give that recognition, give that gratitude in the way that people like to receive the most. We call that the platinum rule.
Chris, how do we know that? Especially if we don't know the person very well, or maybe they're 2-3 layers deep in the organization. How do we get that right?
Oh, you can do a variety of things. You can send out surveys. You can practice empathetic journeying and listening, right? I think one of the greatest skills that leaders need to have in this new world of work is practicing the art of slow listening. Practicing the art of just observing what your people are going through, what they're saying, how they're doing. I know this is crazy for me to say. I don't know the organizations that you're a part of. You got so many things going on left and right. But I promise you, you take the time to slow down and engage in listening, questions, curiosity, passion, connection of your people, you'll actually speed up progress. When you combine quality care and meaningful engagement, you increase the output of innovation, higher quality insights, and the speed at which you achieve meaningful achievements. It's the paradox of speed. And in this new world of work, people are craving slow down, connection, these kind of good things. So just listen and just ask them. Every single person that we work with, after we work with them, and I email them a thank you, I say, Scott, by the way, what's your language of appreciation you like to receive? Scott, how would you answer that, by the way?
For me, my love language is words.
Words. So I might write you a letter after this to thank you. Instead of sending you a gift.
No more mugs. I don't need any more mugs.
No more mugs.
Chris, this is awesome. If people want to know more, if they want to work with you, where do they find you?
I mean, just email us. Just go to chrisshembra.com. Email us in the contact button. Find me on LinkedIn, Chris Shembra. Would love to connect. We've been helping many of the world's leading organizations, Google, Microsoft, IBM, Dell, Citibank, Chase, JP Morgan, the United States government, create cultures of recognition, connection, belonging. It's not just a nice to have. It is the future in this new world of work. Soft skills are the new thing. Empathetic leadership, authentic recognition. So we'd love to have a conversation.
Beautiful. Final question. What gives you hope?
What gives me hope? What gives me hope? Anytime I see someone go out of their way and break through an internal barrier to create a meaningful group experience around the dinner table for others in their neighborhood, amongst their friends, amongst their family, knowing they are solving the crisis of disconnection and the epidemic of loneliness in the people they surround themselves with on a daily basis, that gives me hope for the future of our world.
Boom.
Bam.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for shining your light so brightly. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, pal. Nice to meet you all.